Alright, hello there guys, it's Mousefeets and welcome back to another product review, and today I'll be doing a review on the Delux M800 Pro 3395 edition. Now, per my usual disclaimer, Montyyy did actually send this out to me for me to do a review on, but just like my usual reviews, all opinions that I will say during this review is my honest opinion only. So Montyyy did not pay me to do any shenanigans behind the scene here, so honest opinion review on this channel only. In the packaging, Delux added a lot of stuff. We have of course a braided cable, a USB dongle with the USB itself, extra skates with glass skates, we'll talk about this later, and a really solid grip tape that I've applied. Now we'll talk about the shape of the M800 Pro and we'll do some size comparison while we're at it. The M800 Pro measured at 124mm, 38mm in its peak height, which is more towards the back, that's where the hump is. The grip width is 62mm and the widest width at the back here is 64mm. And the M800 Pro 3395 edition weighs at 71 grams on my scale with the grips on and 69 grams without the grips on. Nice. So to start with the shape comparison, I want to talk about something that I said on my previous video, the F1 Pro. So on the F1 Pro review, I said that the M800 Pro is similar to the F1 Pro, vice versa. They are identical. If you like one, you like the other. But after trying them side by side and during my review testing period, I'm not happy to say that they are actually not identical at all. And in fact, I actually play better and perform better on the M800 Pro than I do on the F1 Pro. That's just a lot of things that I prefer on the F1 Pro, I mean M800 Pro over the F1 Pro, such as the more aggressive hump. And the only way I can really say what this reminds me of is the hump on the Dragonfly F1 Pro reminds me a lot of Superlight's hump. It's very gradual, very slow going down. It's very aggressive at the end here, so there's not really much thing that's hitting your palm, unlike the M800 Pro aggressive hump right here. So it feels much stable in that sense alone. And not to mention, the side walls on the F1 Pro is kind of overdone in my opinion. There's a lot of curves on it, and if you guys can see here, I don't know how well the camera can pick it up, but there's not really a flat edge here. That everything is like curved to give that natural sensation on it. But the M800 Pro is just basically very flat. There's a curve here, and when it curves end here, it just flats out, flare on the front, so it can assist you with picking it up. So in this conversation alone, I hands down will say I perform way better on the M800 Pro than the F1 Pro. I would pick the M800 Pro over the F1 Pro all the time, even though the weight is like 20 grams difference. But I don't think that really matters, because at the end of the day, just how you play the mouse. If you fingertip a lot, I think the F1 Pro will still be a better choice, especially how light it is. But as someone who used to relax club with a 19 by 10.5 centimeter hands, I just play way better on the M800 Pro. Now let's talk about the comparison with the Razer Viper Mini. This is my daily drive Razer Viper Mini wireless, and this is the Delux M800 Pro. And to anyone who says they're like a clone, they're really not. The Delux M800 Pro is like a Razer Viper Medium, meanwhile this is a tiny boy. And the only way I can really show is through the bottom here. Look at the difference in terms of length alone. We are not talking about width, the width alone as well. Look at this, that's a huge difference. And here's the length. It's not the same. The M800 Pro overall just feels bigger. Now with the shape aside, I want to talk about the build quality now, and it's not the best feeling build out of everything I reviewed. There is creaking on the mouse, and if I press hard enough, I can actuate the side buttons, but they don't really do that in game. I never noticed that in game at all, so I wouldn't really say it's a big deal. But I'm gonna be honest, just like everything else, the build quality here isn't perfect, isn't immaculate, but there is no flexing that is like noticeable in terms of just pressing up and top and the bottom of the mouse. There is some rattling, but I think that is from the scroll wheel, because after pressing it, the rattling kind of disappears away. So not a big issue, but the build quality, biggest concern is the sidewall here flexing, but that's like the same as every other Chinese mouse I've just reviewed. So again, it's a pretty decent enough build, and at 70 grams it's solid. I wish it's better because it's kind of heavy in today's standard, but not a big deal for the price at all. Now I want to talk about the texture update on the Delux M800 Pro. The texture update here is really good. It's very grippy. It's amazing coding. This reminds me a lot of Endgame Gear XM2 coding. It feels really good. Not as good, but on the way there. But at the same time, this coding also have a lot of the disadvantages that Endgame Gear's coding have. It gets dirty easily, it collects fingerprint easily, it collects oil easily. So not a big fan in terms of that, but overall texture wise it's amazing. Now the grip tape here is to cover up the dots that they have on these side grips. I still don't know why they just don't make it flat. The texture sides is quite annoying. I never liked it even on the original 3035 version. So the included grip tape here is a lifesaver, because I just put it on the sides where my finger rests the most, because the top, I don't really think you need grip tape on the top coating anymore, but the sides here is amazing. You really love it. Once you use it, you'll probably never take it out. It's a really good grip tape, especially considering it is included in the box. Okay, now all the basic changes aside, what is the biggest difference from the 3095 sensor compared to the 3070 sensor? And it is on the clicks. So I'm gonna turn it off here, and they have basically swapped the Kailh 8.0s, the Kailh 4.0s, every Kailh model that Delux ever released, swap it to Huano, Blue Shell, Pink Dot. Rejoice! I love Huano, Blue Shell, Pink Dot, and I want every mouse out there to use the switches, but it's personal preference. I know some people don't like the Huano, Blue Shell, Pink Dot, but I love it on a really well implemented mouse, and I think Delux is a kind of okay implementation. Pre and post travel is very minimal, but post travel is more noticeable than pre. There is side to side is very minimal, but there is creaking on mouse button 2 when you hold it and move it left to right, but it's not annoying, so I'll say it's pretty okay. Mouse click feeling is nice. It's soft, it's snappy, it's tactile, it's fast. I love the Huano Blue Shopping Dot here, and comparing it to the Kailh 8.0's M800, the Kailh just feels louder than the Huano Blue Shopping Dot on the M800 Pro 3095 edition. Now the side buttons here is kind of mixed bag for me. The back one is actually quite nice. They say they change how it feels on the 3095 edition, but for me they are heavier feeling than the 3370 edition. Like the 3070 edition here feels a lot more easier to press, a lot more natural to press in game. Meanwhile, the 3395 edition here feels heavy, and the front side button here is way harder to press than the rear side button. Not harder in terms of the actuation weight, but I don't think they are even at all, because when I rest my finger, I can easily feel both when I do this. When I do this, there's like a random height difference between two buttons. So this means that whenever I'm on the natural position and I try to like actuate side buttons, it's really hard to actuate the front one, because it just doesn't feel as good as the back one, and it's heavier, so it doesn't even help. Meanwhile, the 3370 edition, it feels low-key really good compared to the 3095 edition. Now performance, and this is where the 3370 edition comes in, because I really want to compare the difference between 3395 versus the 3070 on the same shape, same mouse, and overall just same features. So the only differentiator between these two is the performance. And TLDR, just like everything out there right now, 3095 sensor mice, there is basically no distinguishable difference between the 3070 and the 3095. I think if you already own the 3070 edition, there's really no reason to upgrade it to the 3095 edition just in terms of performance, because there's really nothing difference between these two mouse. It just feels really good. Lift off distance is very low on the M800 Pro. Snapping on target feels good. Flicking, tracking, everything just feels really solid on the M800 Pro compared to the 3070 edition. Now, what matters though is how you feel while gliding the mouse, and we'll transition to the skates. And again, comparing this to the 3370 edition, I think Delux did a really good job with the M800 Pro 3395 edition. Now, it is still not as good as third-party options, Tiger Eyes, BTL, Corey pads, and whatnot. But for stock, for Delux, especially trying out the 3070, the 3035 edition, this is probably by far the best feeling skates that they have made. It's more rounded this time compared to the very scratchy and slow feeling on the 3070. It's I don't think it's thicker, but it feels much more nicer to glide with. They also include a spare skate in the box, which is amazing. Now I want to talk about glass skates. This is my first ever experience using glass skates on my Pulsar ES1 on the Delux M800 on a very humid country. And I personally will say that I do not enjoy my experience with the glass skates at all. It just feels slow, and on my ES1, because it's a very well worn ES1 at this point, slow spots is so noticeable. And I overall just use it for like an hour. I immediately swap it. It's not even because it's too fast, it's really slow, and I just don't have that great of an experience with the skates itself, so I didn't even bother to use it anymore. But I'm glad that there is option for people who like glass or PTFE, and the fact that they give you extra PTFE because they know you're gonna ruin one when you swap it out is a really good thing. I ruined this one, but you can barely notice it, so I did a good job, honestly speaking. Now let's talk about the battery life on the M800 Pro 3095 edition. I get 1 week on the mouse, especially with no RGB nowadays. They removed the RGB, I forgot to tell. So if you like gamer glow, there is no gamer glow here, but there is no RGB on the M800 3095 edition. And because of this, again, the weight difference is 73 grams, 69 grams, and the battery life lasted me about a week. This lasted me about 4 days on my daily use. So again, no difference that is really noticeable at all. And honestly, that comes to like the conclusion of this video. Is it worth it to get the M800 Pro 3095 edition? Yes. I think if you've never tried the M800 Pro and you really wanted to, and you always wanted to try it, this is like a really good medium-sized shaped mouse that you can easily use and like. If you already own the 3070, the only real reason for me to actually recommend the 3095 here is probably new colorway. The pink one is coming soon, 4K sensor that is coming soon, or if you like all the accessories that you want and your M800 3070 is worn down, then maybe I will recommend the 3095 here. But in terms of performance, in terms of the value wise, if you can get the 3070 on like a huge discount compared to the 3095 edition, I would probably just recommend you getting the 3070, unless you know the grip tape is really important for you, and if you want a glass skate to use, then maybe the 3095 edition. But again, speaking just based on performance, on gameplay wise, I really performed exactly identical between the two. And the only problem is you have to DIY some grip tapes, or you can buy one. I think Corpads have them for the 3070 edition, and I just prefer the texture on the 3095 edition overall. And yeah, that's about it. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. Leave a like if you like this video, leave a dislike if you dislike the video. Both feedback help me out a lot. If you have any question regarding M800 Pro, leave down in the comment section down below. I'll answer them as fast as possible, as soon as possible, to see you guys in the next video. And I'll see you guys next time. Peace.